Okay, hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up ambient occlusion. So what is ambient occlusion? So ambient occlusion is like a node or an image that has the data of like which parts of your texture or your object should be a little bit darker. Like if you look at an object or like a wall, and as you can see at where it connects with the floor, there's a little bit of dark right there, or in like the seams of your object you can see that there's a little bit of darkness. Now in Blender, when you do that, it's not that obvious, so we have a thing called ambient occlusion to help make it more obvious. So let's begin. So first thing we're gonna do is let's get a model that has some seams and stuff. So the model that we're gonna use today is Suzanne. So let's add her to scene. There we go, Suzanne the monkey. So now we're gonna move it up about this much, like make it on the floor so the ambient occlusion will work. So now we're gonna increase the poly. So press Ctrl+3 to add a subdivision surface to it, and then you can shade smooth. Okay. So now first thing, we're gonna add a plane to make it work, and let's check one more time. It's touching the floor, and it is not touching the floor. So we're gonna adjust it a little bit so it's touching the floor. Okay, about that. So now first thing, we're gonna use a simple material. So let's go into material preview and make our Suzanne red. So add a new color and make it red. So for the example right now, we're not gonna make it actually ambient occlusion. We're gonna make it red and blue, so you get how it works. So first, let's go to shading. Now there's two ways to do this. Now I'm gonna do this first way. We usually do this for normal materials, but you can also use the second method to do the ambient occlusion. But right now we're gonna do the first method. So first thing, we can switch from EV to cycles. But we're gonna instead click right here to make ambient occlusion work in EV, because usually it doesn't work in EV. So yeah, okay. So first thing, we're gonna add the ambient occlusion node. So Shift A, add ambient occlusion, and there we go. We have a node. Now this node contains which parts are the seams and stuff. It's gonna be black and white. Now we can actually check this out very quick by plugging the color into the base color, and as you can see, there is a little bit of dark down there. Now we can adjust this later in the video. So yeah. So now first thing, instead we're gonna add a mix shader. And put it right there, and just plug the color into the factor. Right there. And then next, we're gonna add a diffuse right here. You can also use the principal BSDF, but we're just gonna use diffuse right now. Okay, and plug it down here at the shader. So it's mixing this two together, but instead we're gonna use this ambient occlusion to separate it. So now make our diffuse blue like this, and as you can see, the seams are kind of reddish as well as the bottom, so we know that it's working. So now we can switch this to make the red the main color as well. So now this is good and all, but we want to be able to control how much blue we want in the scene. So what we can do is move our ambient occlusion out and press Shift A, add a color ramp, and put it in between, kind of like that. So now when you do that, you can increase the black value, and as you can see, there is more ambient occlusion coming out, like that. So now this is just an example, but actually we should make our blue like red but darker, So it's kind of like that. You can make it even darker. So this is the first method. Now this works for just normal materials, but it will not work on like PBRs and stuff. So let's go on to the second method. So let's open a new file. And okay, so delete the default cube and add Suzanne, Control 3. Look from side view and rotate it, move it on the C. Kind of like that. I'll move it down a little bit more, shade smooth. And there we go. And also don't forget to add the floor. Okay, so now this time we're gonna add a PBR material to our monkey. So go to shading, press new, and click on principled BSDF, kind of like this. And this time we're gonna set it up. Now, if you haven't watched the PBR setup video, then I recommend you go watch that first. But simply right now, click on Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and make sure you have Node Wrangler turned on. So search Node, and you should see Node Wrangler. Make sure it's ticked. Now you can go to like Polyhaven to download a PBR texture. Right now I already have, so Control Shift T and tag right here. I saved mine right here, and I'm gonna use this sandy gravel texture. Set it up kind of like this. So now you can just set up the usual thing. Now, right now we're using UV, which is not that great, so we're gonna change it to object and just change the projection type to a box. There we go. Now you can see there is a line right there. So we're gonna fix that by just increasing the blend to 1, 1, 1, 1. There we go. Now we can't really see the scene. And now what we can do is go into like render preview and just duplicate our lights for now to see how much normal, the strength of the normal we want, because if it's too strong then it's not going to look that great. So set it at a proper amount, not too much. Okay, that's actually too much. Okay, about this much is great. Go to materials, go back to materials, and it's time to add the ambient occlusion. So go here, don't forget to turn it on, and now let's add it. So now if you're using a normal PBR texture with 4 images, this is how you do it. So we're going to delete that frame at the back and move our basic color up. Then we're going to add ambient occlusion, our ambient occlusion right there. And then we're going to add mix RGB. And then plug the color down here. Now, right now it's mixing these two, but we don't want it to mix. Instead, we want it to multiply. Basically, we want the dark part of our ambient occlusion to multiply onto our base color. So simply go down here and click on the mix and change it to multiply right here. And as you can see, it's back to normal. But now this is how we got the ambient occlusion working. So first thing, what you can do is change the factor right here. We can adjust the amount. That's the first method. But to be more effective and adjust more a little bit, we can put a color ramp in between the ambient occlusion, kind of like that. And then you can increase the black part if you want more ambient occlusion. Okay. So now this is for PBR texture with without ambient occlusion map. Now, if you go to oh man, I just exposed myself. Now, if you go to your PBR textures and you see like fifth texture and it says AO or like ambient occlusion, then you know you're in luck because the person who created this texture also made an ambient occlusion map. So now what you can do with this is just move it in to Blender, and we can just use this instead of this ambient occlusion node and plug it into the factor. Now this is going to be way more effective than using ambient occlusion because it's made by the person who made the texture. So we can actually delete the color run because we're not going to use it right now. And there we go. So simply, that's how you set up ambient occlusion. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Now, if you have any questions about ambient occlusion, if you like think I did something wrong or I said something wrong, you can comment down below. I accept all criticisms, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.